Most travelers believe getting flagged by TSA only happens if you're carrying something illegal, acting suspicious, or doing something obviously wrong. But the truth is far more unsettling. Every single day, thousands of perfectly innocent passengers are quietly flagged by TSA before they even reach the security checkpoint, often without realizing it, and sometimes without ever being told. What makes it worse is that one of the most common reasons for being flagged isn't a crime, a threat, or even a serious violation. It's a simple mistake that millions of travelers make without thinking. A mistake so ordinary that people repeat it trip after trip, unaware that it can instantly place them on a watch list, trigger extra screening, or permanently mark their travel profile. The moment you step into an airport, TSA already knows far more about you than you might expect. Your name, your travel history, your booking behavior, and even small inconsistencies in your personal information are analyzed before you ever see a security officer. Contrary to popular belief, TSA screening doesn't start at the metal detector. It begins the second your ticket is booked. Airlines transmit passenger data to security systems long before departure, and that data is scanned for patterns, mismatches, and red flags. Most travelers assume that as long as they show up on time and follow the rules, they're safe. But TSA operates on a risk-based model, not a behavior-based one, and that means even innocent mistakes can instantly label you as a person of interest. The mistake that gets people flagged more than almost any other is something shockingly simple: inconsistent personal information. This includes mismatched names, missing middle names, incorrect birth dates, or even minor spelling differences between your ID and your airline reservation. To a human, these details might seem insignificant. To TSA's automated systems, they can look like identity manipulation. For example, if your airline ticket shows your name without a middle name but your ID includes one, that discrepancy alone can trigger secondary screening. The same goes for hyphenated names, suffixes like junior or senior, or even accents and special characters that don't translate correctly in airline booking systems. What makes this mistake so dangerous is that it often doesn't cause problems immediately. You might travel multiple times without issue, then suddenly be pulled aside for extra screening, questioned by officers, or flagged for random checks every single trip afterward. That's because once an inconsistency is detected, your profile can be marked for further review, and that mark can follow you indefinitely. Many travelers mistakenly believe that TSA flags reset after a flight or expire automatically. In reality, some flags remain attached to your passenger profile for years, especially if the system interprets repeated inconsistencies as intentional rather than accidental. Another version of this mistake involves last-minute changes to your booking. Changing your flight shortly before departure, especially changing destinations, seats, or passenger details, can raise alarms. TSA systems are designed to detect unusual booking behavior, and sudden modifications can resemble the patterns used in past security incidents. Even something as simple as correcting a typo in your name within 24 hours of departure can push your profile into a high-risk category. The system doesn't know your intentions. It only sees behavior that deviates from the norm, and deviation equals scrutiny. One of the most misunderstood aspects of CAC screening is the concept of random checks. Travelers often hear officers say that extra screening is random, but in reality, true randomness is rare. Most additional screening is risk-based, triggered by data points that travelers never see. If you're consistently selected for random screening, it's usually a sign that something in your profile has been flagged. That flag may not be serious enough to stop you from flying, but it's enough to ensure TSA takes a closer look every time you travel. This is where the mistake becomes truly costly. Once flagged, even unintentionally, your airport experience can change permanently. You may be subjected to pat-downs, bag searches, swab tests for explosives, or longer questioning. Your boarding passes may frequently display the dreaded SSSS marking, indicating secondary security screening selection. And unlike criminal charges, there is no clear process for removing a TSA flag caused by a simple mistake. Many travelers spend years dealing with extra screening without ever understanding why. Another common variation of this mistake involves booking flights for other people. Parents booking for children, spouses booking for partners, or employers booking for employees often enter information incorrectly without realizing it. A wrong birth date, a shortened first name, or a missing middle initial can instantly cause mismatches. When the traveler arrives at the airport, TSA systems may interpret the discrepancy as identity confusion, especially if the name resembles someone on a watch list. In these cases, the traveler isn't flagged because they did something wrong, but because the system can't confidently confirm who they are. The problem becomes even more serious for travelers with common names, if your name closely matches someone on a government watch list. Even minor inconsistencies can increase the likelihood of being flagged. TSA systems rely on multiple data points to differentiate travelers, and when those points don't line up perfectly, the system errs on the side of caution. That caution often translates into inconvenience, stress, and repeated scrutiny for innocent passengers. What most people don't realize is that TSA doesn't need proof of wrongdoing to flag you. Suspicion alone, even automated suspicion generated by algorithms, is enough. That's why this mistake is so powerful and so dangerous. You don't need to act nervous, argue with officers, or break rules. You can be calm, polite, and compliant, and still be flagged instantly because of something you typed incorrectly weeks earlier while booking a flight. Adding to the confusion is the lack of transparency. TSA officers on the ground often don't know exactly why a traveler has been flagged. They're simply following instructions generated by the system. This means asking an officer why you're being screened rarely gives you answers. Most officers can't tell you, and even if they could, they're not authorized to discuss internal security triggers. For the traveler, this creates a sense of helplessness. You did nothing wrong, yet you're treated as higher risk every time you fly. Another layer to this mistake involves frequent flyer accounts and travel profiles. If your airline loyalty profile contains different information than your government ID, that inconsistency can follow you across airlines and trips. Many travelers sign up for loyalty programs years ago and never update them. Over time, names change, passports are renewed, or IDs are updated, but the airline profile remains outdated. Each time you book a flight using that profile, you unknowingly repeat the same mistake, reinforcing the flag in the system. International travelers are especially vulnerable. Different countries format names differently, and translation issues can create inconsistencies without the traveler ever realizing it. A missing space, an extra letter, or reversed name order can all be interpreted as identity discrepancies. Even travelers with perfectly valid documents can be flagged simply because systems across borders don't communicate flawlessly. The psychological impact of being flagged shouldn't be underestimated. Travelers often feel embarrassed, anxious, or singled out. Some begin to dread flying altogether. Others change their behavior unnecessarily, thinking they must act extra normal to avoid attention. Ironically, this heightened self-awareness can sometimes make travelers appear more nervous, reinforcing TSA's suspicions even further. It becomes a self-perpetuating cycle, triggered by a mistake that could have been avoided. So why doesn't TSA warn travelers more clearly? The answer lies in security strategy. Revealing exactly what triggers flags would allow malicious actors to exploit the system. As a result, innocent travelers pay the price for secrecy. TSA prioritizes risk prevention over convenience, and that means false positives are considered acceptable collateral. From a security standpoint, inconvenience is preferable to vulnerability. However, there are ways to reduce the risk. Ensuring that your name, date of birth, and gender match exactly across your ID, airline ticket, and frequent flyer profiles is critical. Even small details matter. Travelers should double-check bookings before confirming and avoid last-minute changes unless absolutely necessary. Consistency is key, because TSA systems value predictability above all else. For those already affected, there are limited options. Programs like DHS Traveler Redress Inquiry Program exist, but they are slow, complex, and offer no guarantees. Many travelers submit redress requests only to receive vague responses or no resolution at all. The system was not designed for convenience or customer satisfaction. It was designed to minimize risk, even at the cost of fairness. In the end, the most unsettling truth is that TSA flags are not always about what you carry or how you behave. They're about data, patterns, and probabilities. A simple mistake, made casually and repeated unknowingly, can reshape your entire travel experience. The next time you book a flight, remember that the smallest details can have the biggest consequences. And that in the world of airport security, being flagged doesn't mean you're guilty. It often just means you are human.